want to welcome you to my very first video of the home garden. I really want to highlight the tomatoes. So we're going to start over here with this monstrosity. This here is actually two plants. One is Husky tomato hybrid. What happened here is these two plants were volunteers. So the big one you can see is the cherry tomato variety, and there's another one in here that is a smaller plant. It's a bush plant. It's a slicer variety. You can see here's the base of the cherry plant, and here's the base of the slicer bush variety. You can see the fruits in there just loaded up. This cherry here is about 7 feet tall and still growing. As with many gardeners, we make the mistake of putting an indeterminate plant inside of a cage here, and as you can see, it went way past that and it broke in here, as you can see, and we've done our best to try and tie it up. I didn't trim it because it kept growing, and I'm sort of a fan of just letting it happen. One of our rule of thumbs is if it's a volunteer, let it go. And since this is a volunteer, we let it go. This actually grew in a bed where we had pumpkins growing before. And if you've seen any of my shorts, you will see the pumpkins that grew in this bed here. They've already finished and we've replaced it with some other things, but these grew underneath the giant pumpkin leaves and they just kept going and going. Look at the size of this thing. It's over 7 feet tall. Again, another look here. I mean, it's just loaded with cherries everywhere. Sometimes hard to see on camera. And we've harvested multiple times. If you look up in here, I mean, it's just swimming with fruit. I've done my best to try to trim this back, doing some pruning, but it's hard to keep up. These plants grow so fast, and like I said, because it's a volunteer, we just let it go, see what happens. Usually they do very well. And how I think these volunteered is, a year ago we grew some Husky cherries in the backyard, and we mainly grew them to feed to our chickens. And we also bought some heirloom slicer tomatoes. I don't remember what they were, but we bought them from a farmer's market, and we fed them to the chickens also. And so this bed here, along with this big bed, excuse my shadow, they were made with well composted chicken manure. And I think clearly some seeds survived and created these monstrosities. I was taking a look at this slicer, I mean, just absolutely loaded. These are much bigger than they appear on camera. There's a big one down here. This, I mean, again, much bigger than it appears on camera. Probably one of my favorite plants to grow. Let's show you some other ones that I have in the garden. Here we have a Cherokee purple. I like Cherokee purple, I like the way they grow. This guy's a small one. He started setting fruit before he got a lot of vegetation. As you can see, there's a big one growing in here, multi-headed. So we'll see how they get. Cherokee purples tend to do this, and that's totally fine. They look good. We got 3 big fruits on here. The plant is not very tall. It's maybe 16 inches tall. I'm trellising it here with this little spiral. I'm sure that will not be enough, but it's what I had to work with, so that's what we're doing. I'm gonna have the main part of the spiral in, and then I'll support the side branches as it goes. I think it's an indeterminate. Yep, it's indeterminate, so it's going to keep going. So I'm going to try to keep it down to 2 main leaders. and support it as it goes, and we'll see what happens. I mainly want to use this variety to harvest the seeds to continue to grow because it is an heirloom and it will grow true. That's my main goal here, other than obviously eating a number of them, but definitely going to harvest the seeds and grow this one in the future. Let me show you some more. I bought this guy on a whim at the local box store. It's a big beef heirloom. Again, nice sandwich tomato. Also one we can save the seeds. It is indeterminate. I'm going to keep it in this little pot here, and we'll build more supports for it as it needs it. But I don't want it to get too big. But I bought it on a whim. I couldn't resist. And so here it is. It's going to live in this little pot, and we'll see how it goes. It actually was blown over by the wind, so I had to strap it down. It came with this support. Clearly it's not going to be enough as the plant gets bigger. Look at this little lizard. There he goes. Get out of here. They're actually nice. They're good for the garden. They'll eat bugs. In this bed I have 4 Romas and garlics down the middle, which haven't popped up yet, but these are bush variety. They're going to grow and they're going to set once. They're great for paste and for sauces, which is what we're going to use them for. So we put 4 of them in. We'll see how they grow. What's interesting about these is they were actually very leggy when I bought them. They were growing at the box store underneath in the shelf, and they're about 3 times as tall as what you see here. I actually buried them kind of deep and at an angle. I'm a fan of burying the tomatoes very deeply so they can produce more roots. And like I said, these ones were about 2.5, 3 times as tall as what you see here. Right now they're about 8 or 9 inches tall. They were much bigger. So this one in particular, it's buried down, and its root ball is about here, down about 5 or 6 or 7 inches. And I dug a big hole at an angle, buried the root ball, and then kind of angled the plant as it came up. So there's the root ball, and there's probably a good 6 inches of stem under. I cleaned it all up and put it in. And the same goes for the rest of these. They're buried very similar. I think this is the only one that's straight up and down, but all of these are at an angle in the soil. I read about that technique about burying tomatoes at an angle, or laying them out on the side, letting the plant turn up and then burying it. And so like the root ball would be here and then the plant comes up. So I sort of did that method here. So we'll see how it works. These are going to be one and dones, which is the point. I'm going to make tomato sauce out of them. I have garlic here. There's about 9 garlics, I want to say. So they have yet to rear their heads, but they'll show up. It's kind of a lot of flies because we use chicken manure, composted chicken manure, as well as fish emulsion. That's what the fly traps are for. Look at that. You gotta have fly traps in the garden. You gotta get these guys. And that really takes the edge off. So this is another one bed. I got a couple more I want to show you. Let's go over and check it out. Here's another one that I bought. This was a bush variety. It's a hybrid called the Bush Goliath. Let me see if I can get a better shot here. We can see it. I wanted some more bush tomatoes. The truth is, we're actually going to be moving from this property, and so I didn't want to have something that's going to grow forever and get so big that would be hard to manage. I wanted something that would grow, I can harvest and move on. And I'm going to keep this in this 2-gallon pot to see how it does. It should be fine. It should get pretty big. I did buy this giant cage for it. Maybe that was too much. Maybe it'll be fine, but we'll see how it goes. I worry as it gets bigger it'll get blown over. Just a little quick, if you look in the back here, these are all baby moringa trees. And if you haven't read about moringa trees, you should. It's an awesome tree to grow. It grows very fast. It's a great looking tree. You can prune it, you can chop it, and it'll just grow right back. There's a lot of health benefits to it. I'm not going to go over it all in this video. But I mean, it could be the future of health. People in Asia, Southeast Asia, India, they've been using this tree and its benefits for years. So we grew these from seed. I have several moringa trees, which I'll showcase maybe in another video, in the front and the backyard. And they're several seasons old. I have some that are almost 3 years old. They get very big. If you don't cut them back, I mean, within a year or two, they can get 20 feet tall, easy. So you have to keep trimming them back. And they produce these seed pods. They look like giant bean stalks. So we harvested them, and these are what we have here. I have a ton more to go. I could have 100 of these, maybe more. But we decided to do these. We're thinking about selling these off as they get bigger. These have probably been 2 months since they've been propagated. Some are doing better than others. Let me see. Some are doing a little better than others. So we're still experimenting with, you know, what it takes. They grow fast, so I think you get a lot of forgiveness from them. So again, check out moringas, guys, if you don't know about it. It's an amazing plant. Definitely check it out. Last tomato I want to show you is this guy here. So this was a volunteer that we took a cutting of and put in the ground, or put in this pot, excuse me. Now it's been in this pot for, gosh, a month and a half and hasn't really done much, but it's not dead either. So I'm not sure what the deal is. I'm very reluctant on taking plants out if they're not dead or absolutely in the way. And I like tomato plants, so we're gonna leave it. Let me get a better shot of it, hard to see. We're gonna leave it and see what happens. I mean, it's coming along very slowly, but you never know. Sometimes things will just explode and you have a great plant in your hands. So here's the third and final harvest of the cucumbers. The first two were much bigger than this, actually. And so as you can see, these are enormous. I mean, just amazing, and they taste fantastic. You slice into them and the whole house, the fragrance just fills the whole house, and it's wonderful. Put this in with, soak it in some water in the fridge, a little lime or lemon, and it's a fantastic drink for the morning. Here's these baby pumpkins. We've harvested these 3 or 4 times off that plant. Baby jacks, I think they're called. Jack be little, I think is what my son is whispering to me. Signing off our first video. Hope you like it. Show us the love. And if you don't like it, then that's okay too. We'll see ya.